Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach on your journey I will bless.
Welcome everyone to this Volunteers for Israel program. If you are new, just to give you an idea of who we are, we're the only American organization that facilitates civilians volunteering on Israel Defense Forces bases to help the Army based on need. And many of us here have gone and volunteered multiple times or once, whatever you've had time for. But if you're interested, feel free to stick around after the program or to shoot me an email. Happy to talk to you about it. We really help them, and especially right now, they're really starved. And while we can't go to Israel and volunteer for the Army, we have created this Educates program, which is why we are all here now and schmoozing. I don't have really any updates in terms of us going. It's still closed. Sarel, our partnering organization in Israel, who will tell us when the Army bases are open, has said not yet. There's talk of needing 3 shots instead of 2 to get on the bases. But as of right now, no update on that. I also did want to mention that, as many of you know, we are a part of AZM, which is the American Zionist Movement, and they have recommended that we offer emails. Oh, sorry, I'm going to mute everyone just so I don't hear any sound. Okay. They just suggested that we offer emails to everyone from a group called the Focus Project, that is a joint initiative of a broad coalition of U.S. Jewish committee organizations, and they develop and distribute emails with facts on them, basically to encourage people to, speak on behalf of Israel and fight anti-Semitism and that type of thing. So if you do receive an email like that, that's coming through the American Zionist Movement. If you don't want to receive them, just unsubscribe, and you don't have to worry about leaving Volunteers for Israel anything, because it's not coming directly from us. But we just wanted to offer it to you in case you wanted it. I think that is it. I'm just going to have Julia introduce herself. Julia is our wonderful in-person and Zoom tour guide. She runs all of our VFI Plus programs, which I'd also be happy to tell you about. But she's basically created this whole program, and she'll be our speaker today. Julia, you are muted. So if you want to unmute, we will get started. If you have any questions, please feel free to put the questions in the chat. If there's some sort of emergency and I need to announce it, I'll do so. But otherwise, Julia will look at your questions and we will read them in the end. Julia?
Yes. Hi. Okay. Thank you, Ilana. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for, just being there wherever you are. And I will start soon speaking about 7 wonderful, unique, special, different synagogues from different locations in Israel, as you will see in a minute. Just after how to put it, you're being unhappy about some terminology I used last time. So please, and Ilana, you are there to help me. If I use a term which is not appropriate, or you don't like it, and I'm not aware of it, as
just call it the Kotel. Just call it the Kotel, Julia.
No. I will not be talking about the Kotel, no worries. But just in case, I don't know. Maybe there are other terms which I should not use, and I really don't want to offend anybody. So Ilana, please unmute yourself and let me know that this term is no good.
That was the only term people were annoyed by. So I think we should be okay.
Well, I hope I will not find another one which you never thought of.
No, but it was great to explain that it was the translation from Russian, which is why.
Yeah. Which made it. Well, you don't know Russian. I mean, I might make another mistake. Okay, forget it. That's it. So let's,
Private message me.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. So you can message Ilana, and Ilana will unmute herself and let me know that this is something I should not say. And I hope I will be All right.
Just go ahead.
So yeah, so here we go. And well, as I mentioned before, when I started thinking about this program, I was like, oh, okay, I will pick up some beautiful synagogue. That's so simple, you know. And then I ended up adding more and more synagogues to the list, and that became way, way too long. And then I had to delete synagogues, and I was like, oh no, but I have to talk about this one. No, but this one is better. But no, but this one is much, you know, and things got complicated as I proceeded. Eventually, I ended up with 7 synagogues, which are my personal choice. I mean, I'm sure that those of you who've been to Israel, you might decide that, hey, I should have added this particular synagogue. And you are right, it's all subjective. These are the ones I picked, and I hope you will enjoy it. And we might have another presentation about 7 more. Having said that, I will start sharing my screen. And yeah, okay. So here we go. And yeah, okay. Can you see the slide? 7 unique synagogues.
Perfect,
with
Julia.
Newman. Okay. I'm Julia Newman. I'm a tour guide, as Ilana said, for many years now. I spend today, full day in churches, next to churches, talking about churches, because that was a tour for tour guides course students. And since most of the tourists in Israel are Christians, I mean, normally, so they have to know much about Christianity. So it's so nice to be able to talk about synagogues for a change. So let's begin. Just to mention that this is a pay-as-you-wish presentation, and you have my PayPal address up here, and I will very appreciate your opinion. All right, so the first one I've chosen, this is the one I'm pretty sure none of you seen before, even though you might be visiting Israel quite a few times before. And this is the Cochin Synagogue, which is located in Moshav Nev. This is number 1. Moshav Nev, as you can see on this star on the map, is located some about 5 miles southeast of Beersheba. You can see the camel here. So we are not, you know, we are in the northern Negev. And well, it's one of the few real Cochin synagogues in Israel. So I'm not sure you know what Cochin is or who Cochins are. And therefore, well, the Jews, the Cochin Jews, made immigration from this area. This is the map of India, as you can see. And we have a Jewish community, which is almost not there. I mean, there are very few Jews left in this area in India, but that used to be a large and prosperous and ancient and happy Jewish community, which used to live down here. You see, this is a state called Kerala. They speak a language which is called Malayalam, and the city of Cochin is right here. So they're basically Indian Jews. Now, they made Aliyah from the very lush landscape of India, the tropical climate of India, when everything is, you know, just green and blossom. You have to do nothing in order to make a living. And then they were placed by the state of Israel in the early 50s in this Moshav Nev, which today looks like this. Okay, pretty fertile, pretty prosperous Moshav. But we have to keep in mind that we are located in the desert, in the Negev desert, surrounded by camels, surrounded by sand dunes. And you know, this is something they never saw before. They could not even imagine making life in the desert. So just to feel a little bit what they felt, I would like us to watch a very short YouTube about the community in India before they actually immigrated. So here we go. Okay, look at them. Okay, yeah.
הטרופיות שבמדינות הודו. הצבעים הדומיננטיים ירוק וכחול. יערות טרופיים הנושקים לחופים יפהפיים ותעלות מים שקטות.
So just back to the presentation, what I wanted you to see is the people, the landscape, the lifestyle before they made immigration to Israel, and just to acknowledge how difficult it was, almost impossible for them to make an aliyah and become part of a regular Israeli society. Now we have different traditions about where did they come from. So you see just some of the ideas. Maybe these are the traders who came to India some 3,000 years ago when Hiram, the king of Tsor, sent merchandise to King Solomon, and maybe this is part of the 10 tribe style, and maybe they moved with the first apostles, with the first Christian messengers. We're not sure, but 1,000 years ago, we definitely know about the special rights which were given to Yosef Rabban, the leader of the Jewish community in Cochin, by the local king. That's what the Jewish families look like in Cochin. Again, we're talking about regular looking Indians with typical Indian food and also special Jewish Indian oriented food prepared for Shabbat and for Passover because they observe the kashrut. And here they moved. 1954, they made to Cochin, a community of almost 3,000 people, and of course they built a synagogue, and this is why we are actually talking about. This is what their synagogue looks like. It looks, well, when you first look at it, it looks like a more or less typical Spanish, Sephardic synagogues with seats surrounding the bima, and here in front we have the Holy Ark, a lot of red color. They love red color. It's a very colorful synagogue, generally speaking, as the Indian tradition states. You know that the Indian saris, they're always very colorful. The more colors, the better. Same is true for the synagogue. But then when we look at it from a different angle, this is a photo taken before COVID-19, so there are no masks on people. So here there is a bima down here, that's the one we saw before. But here we have a staircase leading to the second floor. And here on the second floor at the women's section, at the Ezrat Nashim, there is a second bima. And this is something, as far as I know, is unique for the Cochin community, because the idea is that women, well, they cannot be together with the men, but they should listen to reading of the Torah. They should be able to see and understand and be part of everything. And so normally the reading of the Torah will be from the second floor, from the level of the women, while men will be down here and they will be listening to the voice from up there, almost from the sky. And that would make the Cochin Synagogue so special, this very special attitude towards women, and also the story of the people and the way they look like, because they still totally look Indian. So this is again a few more photos of the same bima on the second floor. I really like it. The Holy Ark, the Birkat Levana, which is present in so many other synagogues. And this is what the men's section, the lower part of the synagogue, looks like from up above. So this is pretty steep, this is pretty high, and that makes women feel really, really respected, unlike in a typical Orthodox synagogue. So this is our first synagogue in Moshav Nev down south. And our second synagogue, we are in Jerusalem. Of course, we cannot avoid Jerusalem. We will be visiting a few synagogues in different parts of Jerusalem. So here we are. And this is the Karaim in Hebrew, synagogue, which is also the world center of the Karaite community in the Jewish quarter, and it's in the old city of Jerusalem, of course. So here we are in Jerusalem. A week ago, we were talking about, I've mentioned Mount of Zion, and I was asked, where is it? So here, this is the old city. This is the Jewish quarter here in the center. And down here, you can see it says King David's tomb and Dormitio Basilica. This is the location of Mount Zion. The King David's tomb is located on Mount Zion. So this is just to answer the question from last week. But now we are located in the Jewish quarter, and we are on a street which is called Rehov HaKaraim, HaKaraim Road. Okay, so HaKaraim, this is the Hebrew version of the name, and the English is the Carriage. So here we are. We just entered this nice and cozy little courtyard. We just entered through this gate, and we are guests of the Karaite community in the Jewish quarter. So who are the Karaite? I believe most of you are not familiar with them, and this is another very interesting, special Jewish story. But just before I will be talking a little bit about the Karaite, when we are standing in front of the gate leading to the Carriage Center, so we are standing with our back to, this is a photo which was taken just a few days ago. And as you can see, we have renovation and reconstruction works in progress. And this is one of the biggest, the most famous, the greatest synagogues we ever had in the Jewish quarter. This is where it was, a synagogue which is called Tiferet Israel. That's what it looked like here on the right. You see the black and white photo. This is the photo which was taken before the Independence War, and that was a huge synagogue, as big as the Hurva Synagogue, which is located now in the center, the big, white, beautiful synagogue, which we will be visiting virtually later. Anyhow, this synagogue, Tiferet Israel, which was the glory of the Jewish quarter, and it was ruined during the Independence War. Same was true for the Hurva Synagogue, but the Hurva was restored, and Tiferet Israel is being finally restored now. So this is what it looks like a construction site. And in the future, in the near future, hopefully, it will look like this yellowish photo on the left. Okay, so this is right next to, it's like 9 feet away from the Carriage Synagogue. All right, so we've entered the Carriage Center, and we have a little introduction movie about the Carriage, and we have some decorations on the wall, some photos of Carriage decorations and scriptures. That's what a Carriage cemetery looks like in the Kidron Valley. And okay, who are they? So the Karaim comes from Bnei Mikra. This is what they call themselves. The Caraites call themselves Bnei Mikra, which means the sons of the Bible. Mikra is one of the Hebrew words for the Bible. So they are the sons of the Bible. And that means that this community, which originated back in the 9th century AD in Babylonia, they believe in the Bible only. As we all know, modern Judaism, and actually, Judaism starting from the Second Temple period, is based very much upon rabbinical scriptures, the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Tosefta, the Braita. We are talking about human understanding based upon the Bible, and there is no modern Judaism without Mishnah and Talmud. While the Karaite, what they say is a very simple thing. Hey, the Bible is the holy book given by God or directed by God and by the prophets. But all these rabbinical ideas, the rabbis are people, which is true, and therefore they might be wrong, and any rabbi can be wrong, and therefore we cannot rely upon the rabbis. I mean, what we should do, we, the Carriage, what we should do, we should read the Bible, understand the Bible, and that's it. So you have to be very simple. They're talking about scriptures, analogy, and tradition. And one of the easiest and the best examples about the difference between the Carriage understanding and the Orthodox Jewish understanding, traditional Jewish understanding, well, we all know these phrases from the Bible. God talking to Moses from the burning bush, he said, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is a holy ground, right? This is a very well-known phrase. So the Carriage said, well, he said the holy ground. This is a synagogue, right? Yes, the synagogue is holy ground. Yes. So how can you possibly stand with your shoes on? This is the same idea which is shared by the Muslims. I don't know if you know, but in a mosque, you're not allowed to be with your sandals on. You have to take your shoes off. So there are no shoes around here, and there are also no chairs around here because you are standing on the holy ground. You're not sitting on the holy ground, right? Okay, so why chairs? Instead, they do have carpets. The Carriage communities used to be very abandoned. They were used to be present all over the world. These are just some of the Carriage communities which used to exist. In the medieval times, the Carriage community consisted of, well, I'm not sure about the numbers, but about 40% of the Jews all over the world, they were Carriage. And then little by little, this community started to decline. And today we are talking only about 40,000 or so Carriage living in Israel, in a few towns and a few villages. The biggest communities today are in Ramle and in Ashdod. So this is a parochet, you know, the cover for the Holy Ark, a Carriage parochet, which is on display in this little museum there. This is the box for the Torah scroll. And here, look, this is how they pray. Remember, we have no shoes and we have no chairs. And people are standing and then they're bending and then they're standing on their knees. This looks very, very similar to a Muslim prayer. If you ever saw a Muslim praying, so that looks very, very similar, but they do have a kippah while praying only, and they do have a talit. They don't put kippahs on during the day like Orthodox Jews, but during the prayer, yes, they do. Okay, some more scriptures and decorations there. This is the Carriage Ketubah, and here, you know, there's a interesting story about the Carriage. They accept the rabbinical Jews as Jews, while the rabbinical Jews, they accept the Carriage as Jews, but they do not accept their way of divorce. Okay, so the problem was that a Carriage could not marry an Orthodox because since they do not accept the divorces of the Carriage, so they all might be mamzerim. How do you say mamzer in English? Somebody who is, you know, a son of a man who is not the husband of the woman, which is bastard. Bastard, right? Okay, thank you. So, since the divorces are not accepted and the Carriage community exists since the 9th century, so all the Carriage are suspected to be bastards. Okay, this is very problematic, and so the rabbinical institutions did not let the rabbinical Jews marry the Carriage. And then some almost 30 years ago, the Carriage community became so small that there was an actual threat of losing them. You know, they were almost extinct. And then the former chief rabbi Rabie Ovadia Yosef already passed away. He decided to solve the problem, and the solution was amazing. What Ovadia Yosef said is, hey, we do not accept your divorces, okay? But now we do not accept your marriages. Starting from the 9th century. As a result, none of them are bastards because none of their women were ever married. This is an amazing, I mean, you have to be a genius in order to find such a solution, but he found a solution, and therefore, and today, there is no problem. I mean, the Carriage can marry the Orthodox and vice versa, and so they are saved. So this is what the synagogue looks like, okay? The Holy Ark, the Chanukia here. They have these little, I'm not sure what you call them in English. It's like it's like a little pomegranate, and some of them are used to read the Torah scroll, so you will not be touching the scroll with your fingers. So it's like a special pointer.
A yad. We call it a yad.
Yeah, you call it yad. Okay, all right. So this is like a hand-looking pointer, and they do not let non-carried people inside the synagogue because, as we said, this is a holy ground, and therefore, when a woman has her period, so she's not allowed into the synagogue until she finishes the period, and then she has to go to the mikveh, and only then she can visit the synagogue. Now, the problem is that they do not trust the non-carried that they will actually obey. They do not trust me that I will be pure, and therefore they simply don't let anybody into the synagogue. So all we can do as non-carried women is to take photo through the window. And that's exactly what I did. They have quite a few other differences between them and the Jews, but this is not a presentation about the carriage. I just want to say that this is a very small, very special community, which used to be 40% of the people of Israel. And today we're talking about a tiny little minority. Okay, another photo of the same synagogue from a different angle. And here we are. We are on our way to the 3rd synagogue, which is, well, to tell you the truth, it's not a synagogue. I mean, there is no Torah scroll, and therefore it is not a synagogue. But the reason why I decided to place it in this presentation, because it is so special, and it is actually located right next to a synagogue, in between a synagogue and a Beit Midrash. So I decided that this is good enough, and people actually pray there. People actually pray there 24/7. Okay. So we are, once again, we are in Jerusalem, and we will be visiting the graves of the great rabbis of the Hasidic branch called Gur, and they're located in the Mahanayakuda neighborhood in Jerusalem. Now, we're all familiar with the Mahanayakuda market, okay? That's what it looks like. The market is actually inside there, and then on the right, there is this wide and open street, which goes all the way to the Aroma Cafe. Okay, I hope you remember what I'm talking about. Anyhow, this is the Mahanayakuda market, and this is where we all go. While exactly across the road where we're standing now, across the light rail, there is a neighborhood with the same name. So now we are turning our back to the Mahanayakuda market, and we're going to the Mahanayakuda neighborhood. And this is what we see, okay? Tiny little narrow street. We are entering the street. This is what it looks like. And as we enter the street, we see two really nice graffitis. So I decided to put it, everything will be fine at the end. And if it's not, so that's not the end. And I think this is a really great statement and very encouraging as we're still struggling with the COVID-19. And down here, it says in Hebrew, "Latet ze lekabel," and that means to give is to get. okay? To give is to receive. And I believe that all of you as volunteers for Israel, you will agree that when you give something, when you volunteer for something, so actually you do good to yourself, right? I guess otherwise people would not be volunteering. Okay, so who are the Gur or Ger? Again, I'm not sure what is the right pronunciation in the United States. In Israel, they are called Gur. This is the largest Hasidic dynasty in Israel today. We're talking about thousands of families, and each family, God bless, they have an average of almost 7 children per family, which means that a family with 10, 11 kids is not something never heard of. So this is a Polish Hasidic dynasty, which originated in Gora, which is Poland, founded in the 19th century, and Rabbi Abraham Mordechai, known as the Imrei Emet, the true saying, the name of the most important religious book he wrote. He arrives to Jerusalem. He basically escapes from the Nazis. This is a totally amazing story about how he was actually smuggled from one city to the other, how he actually survived the Holocaust in Poland. Anyhow, Passover 1940, he arrives to Jerusalem with his son. He settles down in a yeshiva, which is called Sfat Emet in Mahanayakuda Neighborhood, and he passes away in Shavuot 1948, which means that this is still the Independence War. Now, he would supposed to be buried in Mount of Olives Cemetery, but that was impossible because we are talking about the wars, and the Mount of Olives Ancient Jewish Cemetery was not actually part of the state of Israel until 1967. So anyways, he passed away. There was no way to take him to Mount of Olives, and therefore he was temporarily buried in the inner square of his yeshiva. And when his son and successor passed away many years later, he was buried right next to him, even though, of course, there were already, cemeteries in West Jerusalem, but he wanted to be buried next to his father, right in his yeshiva. So this is what it looks like. Okay, this is the entrance for the women. The entrance for the men is on the left-hand side. This is the board, which says that this is the model of the Beit Midrash, which used to be in Gor in Poland, the original Beit Midrash. You see, that's what it looked like down here on the photo. And this is the Beit Midrash, the model of the original Beit Midrash in Poland, which is located now right there across the road from the Mahanayakuda market. And there is a very active yeshiva there. So we have the entrance for men and entrance for women, just like in the synagogue, which is uncommon for yeshivas. And as we, the ladies, okay, ladies, you have to follow me, you have no other choice. We are entering this women's section, which is like an Ezrat Nashim. Again, even though it's not actually a synagogue, all we can do is to stand like this lady is standing and pray behind the door, because the holy books and because the holy graves, okay, we don't normally use the term holy graves in Judaism. We don't normally speak of holy men, unlike in Christianity, but that's what people actually feel like, okay? So this is a tiny little room, which is inside the Beit Midrash. This photo was taken from a little window, which is normally closed, but it was just a little bit open. So I stick my cell phone and I took that photo. And these are the two graves, and that's what you hear. Okay, Okay, you did not hear much, I'm sure, but you've heard the noise, right? You've heard the noise almost like a passing train, and that's because of these men standing in a very small, very claustrophobic room, praying over the graves of the two great rabbis 24/7, and there are women praying and listening and crying just behind this closed door you saw before. So this is a Carriage Synagogue, which is not a synagogue indeed, but this is definitely the holy ground for the Gur Hasidim. And right behind the corner, as everything in Jerusalem, things are very close and so dense and so different. Right behind the corner, there is an old woman who just just likes resourcing and reusing plastic bottles. So her house is on the right behind this bush, and all this street next to her house is full of things made of plastic, a sort of recycling, you know. So you have a lion and you have a cat and you have a donkey and you have something which is probably a rat, which I really liked especially. And these are literally 10 steps away from the Gur Hasidim, who would never even walk next to our house because they don't want to take a look at a plastic donkey. Okay, I mean, that could not be a decoration of a Hasidic house. So now we will cross the road once again. We are crossing the Mahanayakuda market to the other side of it, and we are on our way to the Abraham and Oel Sarat Synagogue in Nachlaot neighborhood, which is again exactly on the other side of the Mahanayakuda market. So there are 32 tiny little neighborhoods which all combined together because each one of them grew a little bit and then they just touch, and now we have one large cluster of old neighborhoods which are known as Nachlaot. But originally there were 32 tiny little different neighborhoods. Each of them had a name, and the first of those were established thanks to a generous donation of this gentleman, and this gentleman is Moshav Nev, okay? One of the richest Jews ever lived. He lived to be 101 years old. He's mostly famous for the white windmill above the Mishkanot Sha'ananim, you know, next to the old city. Anyhow, he donated the money to establish these neighborhoods, which were among the first neighborhoods built outside of the old city walls. So we walk into this Nachlaot neighborhood. We see this beautiful bustan with huge, beautiful mulberry trees. We pass Morzipan, which is a very famous institution in Mahanayakuda market, which makes rugelach. And here we are. We walking upstairs into the synagogue of Beit Avraham and Ohel Sarah, and there are still sukkot all over the place, which is always nice. So this is what the women's section, once again, Ezrat Nashim looks like. They did not let me in, and they did not want me actually be there to begin with because they wanted people to come and pray, and I was not about praying. So eventually they gave me a siddur, and then this is the siddur I had, and so I was allowed to sit down there and just, you know, think about things. So this is what the synagogue looks like. Again, it does not look very special, not even very pretty. But what is special about this synagogue is that it was established by Abraham and Sarah, who came from Ioannina in Greece. And Ioannina in Greece was one of the Jewish centers in Greece, and that was one of the very first ever Jewish centers in Greece. And this is where the community of the Romaniotes, that's what they're called, Romaniotic Jews, used to live. These Jews lived in Greece before the destruction of the Second Temple, and probably starting from the times when Alexander Macedonian conquered the land of Israel and created the biggest empire ever. So they have very special traditions, and they have a special language. And this is the Romaniotic language, which is a combination of ancient Greek language and Hebrew. You know, just like the Yiddish is sort of a combination of German and Hebrew. So nobody speaks Romaniotic language anymore, but there's still some communities which pray in this language. So let's listen just for, you know, a short while what it sounds like. The Romaniotic language, which nobody speaks, but people still use for prayers. Okay, so you could hear some Hebrew, right? You could even hear Yom Yom Rishon. This video was taken in a Romaniotic synagogue in Athens, and the rest was ancient Greek. So even the Greek speakers today, they cannot understand this language. Very, very few Romaniotes still present today. Most of them were killed by the Nazis during the Holocaust, when the Nazis invaded into Greece. Yitzhak Navon, the 5th president of the State of Israel, by the way, grew up in this tiny little house, which is just around the corner from the Romaniotic synagogues. And leaving this tiny little synagogue behind, we are heading north in the northern part of modern Jerusalem, not in the old city. In modern Jerusalem, we have this huge, enormous Belz Center and Synagogue, which is located in a neighborhood called Kiryat Belz in Jerusalem. The Belz Hasidic dynasty is the second largest Hasidic dynasty today. This is the head leading rabbi, and this is what their prayer halls looks like. A prayer hall which is big enough for over 2,000 people to sit down together and listen to a lesson or a prayer. In this center, which is 6 floors high, which is 20 meters tall, which has no elevators because people use it 7 days a week. They have 10 synagogues. They have a huge Torah library. They have a large mikveh. They have a special matzah bakery. They have everything. I mean, this is sort of a city within a city with the largest synagogue in Jerusalem. Okay, you have some more details. You know, just the Holy Ark, which weighs about 23 tons. Okay, the wood was imported from Brazil. Unfortunately, they don't let strangers in. So I have very few photos. They do normally have guided tours, but now because of COVID, they don't have it. This is what this neighborhood looks like. You know, it's only about 20-25 minutes walk from the central bus station, where you have secular, Orthodox, Arab soldiers, you name it. You walk for about 20 minutes, and here you are in 100% Orthodox neighborhood, which belongs to only one Orthodox dynasty, which is the Belz. Everything is about faith. Just take a look at this. This announcement on a building just outside. Refrain from congregation on the streets. This is meant for women. Why? Because there is a Bet Midrash nearby. And so, you know, you don't want the holy man who just prayed, who just left the Bet Midrash, to look at women. It's no good. So the solution is to just get out of there for us women. Another interesting thing, you see, this is a modern house, and it's all made for Orthodox Jews. And the Orthodox Jews want to build a sukkah, but in order to build a sukkah, you have to have a sky above you. So all these balconies, you see the building looks a bit weird. The balconies are not totally one on top of the other. I hope you can see it here on the left. It's pretty clear. And here on the right as well. Okay, the idea is that they're not 100% one on top of the other. So every balcony has a little room, which is big enough, according to the Orthodox tradition, to have an open sky above your sukkah. And therefore, every family having a balcony can have a private sukkah, which will be kosher. So we walked through this very densely black and white neighborhood, and this is what this beautiful bell center looks like. You see, with the menorah decorating the main wall. We are getting closer. It's just huge. This is the entrance hall. This is not part of the library. This is just some bookshelves standing outside in the corridor. So if you'd like to, you know, just take a look or grab a siddur, so you can do that. That's outside of the synagogue. The stairway and one of the smaller Bet Midrash, which you can see on the right. And the last but not the least, again, this is an ad for women only. Okay, that's in Hebrew, but you know, easy to translate. It says, so sim lev, pay attention. After the prayer in the Yamim HaNoraim, you know, around the high holidays of Tishrei, the stairs between this street and the other street are only for women. Okay, you cannot even walk down the stairs together. So we have an exit for women and we have a different exit for men. Now imagine that you have 3, 4, whatever kids, and your husband cannot help you down the stairs because, because you have to be separated. So we will leave the Bell Center, and we are jumping back to the old city of Jerusalem, back to the Jewish quarter. And this is probably the most famous synagogue in Israel, which I could not avoid, of course. This is the Churva Synagogue. Churva means a ruin, and it's not ruined whatsoever. This is the entrance, modern entrance into the synagogue. And that's what this synagogue looked like before it was ruined by the Jordanians during 1948. We have some photos. You can see here the black smoke of the missile ruining the synagogue. That's what the synagogue looked like after the war. Okay, ruins and a Jordanian soldier. And this is something some of you might recall. This is what the ruins of the synagogue looked like before the synagogue was restored. Actually, this arch was built after 1967, after the state of Israel was able to, you know, do things in the Jewish quarter, which was no longer Jordanian. And it was originally decided not to restore the synagogue, but just build this arch to make a statement of we are back, we did something. That was sort of a memorial for the Churva Synagogue. And then a few years ago, it was decided finally to restore it. So today, that's what it looks like. It is a working synagogue. It belongs to the Chabad movement. There is the golden menorah standing on the central square before it, and the brown boxes, sort of. This is the central sukkah of the Jewish quarter, which is still there. So that's what the Caravage Synagogue looks like today. You can see a fraction of the eastern wall, which survived the war, and so this is the original one, the Holy Ark, and the rest is restored. Up here, the gallery, this is the Ezrat Nashim. And interestingly enough, most people who visit the synagogue, they do go to the rooftop, they do enjoy the synagogue, but most of them are not aware of the fact that you can walk not just upstairs to the Ezrat Nashim, but you can also walk downstairs. And if you walk downstairs, you reach the level of the corridor, and down there you can see some ruins from the Byzantine period. So before there was a synagogue, that was a street, and on that street there was a mikveh, and there was some other structure. We're not sure of what it is, but basically, that was the center of Jerusalem 15 centuries ago, way before the synagogue was built. So here you can see, here on the left, this is the Ezrat Nashim, and this is the view from the rooftop. And here we have two Orthodox men, okay? And that was quite interesting because, well, they're definitely Orthodox, and they're standing in front of a laptop, which is really unusual because quite often in this ultra-Orthodox neighborhood, you see stickers which say, happy life can be only without internet and movies. Okay, this is a very common Orthodox sticker. And here we are with a laptop on top of a model of the Chovah Synagogue. And just, a quick look. Okay, we can see Mount of Olives. We can see the upper part of the Golden Dome of the Dome of the Rock. Now we can see the Hebrew University on Mount Scopus, and this is the Church of Redeemer, and another church, and yet another church. Now we are looking north at the Christian Quarter. And it is possible to walk around around the White Dome and to see Jerusalem from every possible angle. Very, very special balcony. And finally, the last but not the least, we are flying to Akko, up north, just above Haifa. And in Akko, not in the old city of Akko, which most of you are familiar with, but in the modern city, there is the Or HaTorah Synagogue. Or HaTorah means the light of the Torah. And thank to Zion Badash, who passed away a few years ago. Here you can see the gentleman. This is Zion Badash, who immigrated from Tunis. Well, he immigrated to Akko in the early 50s. And somebody told him that in the ancient synagogues which were uncovered in Israel, these ancient synagogues had a mosaic floor. And Zion Badash, he was impressed because he never heard of a mosaic floor of a synagogue. These did not exist in Tunis. And he wanted to have the same. So it took him a while before he actually had the money, but little by little, people did donate some money. And he made a mosaic floor for his synagogue, which is a brand new synagogue in modern part of Akko. And then people really liked it, so they donated more, and then he had another mosaic, and then they donated more, and then he had yet another mosaic, and the final result was a mosaic synagogue from top to bottom. Okay. Oh, what is this?
שום דבר טוב לא
What
יוצא
is
ממך.
this? Did I put? It seems like I placed the wrong. Oi. Yeah. Well, apparently I just placed the wrong link. Okay. Sorry. I wanted you to see a little video of the synagogue, but it doesn't seem to happen. So with the Mosaic Synagogue, and apologize for the mistake. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the 7 synagogues. And that's it. You are welcome to come back to Israel anytime and as soon as possible. So thank you all. And again, donations are appreciated, Tzion Badish would say, and me too. And I will stop sharing my screen, and let's see if you'd like to add something, say something, go for it.
All right. Thanks so much, Julia. I know I have about 4 churches in a 1-block radius around me. I'm in Philadelphia, so it's nice to see all these shuls, and also interesting because, yeah, we could come there and see them with you, but I feel like a lot of them we wouldn't even be able to go near.
Right.
Too many women, so we had you to sneak in for us. Picture here.
That's true. That actually sometimes it makes things complicated around here.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get to see more in a future presentation, since you had to narrow it down so much.
Mm-hmm. But I have a waiting list of synagogues.
Yeah. What Pam?
Ilana, I just want to say something before you go to the questions, because I know some people are going to leave. It seems like we have a lot of people on tonight, a good number of people, and it looks like a lot of the people are new. And right. Ilana has put up all of the information about how to make donations to Julia. And some people asked, is this, do you pay for these or what? It's all voluntary if you want to make donations. But one thing I have to tell you is that Julia travels all over the country. For those of you that are new, Julia travels all over the country, making all of her tours and her presentations. And if you all keep joining us, you'll find that she brings guest speakers often. And the guest speakers, many times Julia just pays them out of her own pocket. And so whatever donations can be made to Julia for helping her to pay the guest speakers and also helping herself, since there are no tourists now. So
and that's actually what I was going to say next. But I also want to say it's not required that you pay. This is not a paid program. It's just if you can, whatever you could give. That's great. And everything from today's program will go straight to Julia.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Go down to questions.
I just scrolled down and I found, I think this is the first question by Susan. In the Cochin Synagogue, do men read from the upstairs bima or women? The answer is men. I mean, the Cochin Jews are Orthodox Jews, and so a woman cannot possibly read from the Torah, and even more so in front of men or when men are present, and therefore only men read from the Torah, but they do so from the upper bima. So actually the men are standing at the women level and the Torah is on the women level while the men is down there. Okay. And that's, by the way, very different from the Carriage approach, because the Carriage, as I told you, they read the Bible, and since they never found anything about women not being allowed to do this or that, so according to the Carriage, women can do exactly the same as men. I mean, a woman can be a rabbi, a woman can be a shochet, a woman can be a mohel, which is totally fine, because if we read the Bible, so we read about Tzipporah, for instance, and she made the circumcision of the son of Moses. So if she could, we can as well. So in the Carriage community, they're total, not equilibrium, but equality. Okay. Stuart wrote that they were in Cochin about 5 years ago. Yeah, there was one elderly Jewish lady left. Right, her name was Sarah Coyne. Exactly. There are still some Cochin Jews, not in Cochin itself, but almost 99.9 community, 99.9% of the community made Aliyah to Israel. Okay, Anat, can we see the building from the outside? Which building? I'm not sure.
I think it was one of the first or second shul, but I let her know that if, she could look it up if it wasn't in your presentation.
Yeah, well, I don't, if Anat, if you're still here, let me know what do you mean, and then I might be able. Okay, significant for the 8-pointed star. And
if I may, I meant.
Hey, Anat.
Hello. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. If I may,
Thank you.
I was asking for the one in Kfar Nevatim to see it from outside. That's the only one that you didn't show from outside.
Oh, I think I did, but maybe I skipped. Let me just see. Maybe I skipped this.
Doesn't matter. I'll look it up via the.
Okay, yeah, you can. You definitely can find it.
And then I had another question, by the way, about when are you touring the synagogues in the Galil of Bet Alpha and Tzipori?
Okay. Well, right. When I was brainstorming with a friend of mine, and when I was planning this presentation, I wanted to talk about active synagogues, not about ancient synagogues, not about archaeological site, not about synagogues which are museums today. We have quite a few amazing synagogues, but they are museums, I wanted to focus on actual working active synagogues. So
okay, thank you.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure I will.
The question that I had there, what were your criteria about selecting the synagogue? If you would say it in the beginning, I would not ask you about Tzipori.
Well, you're definitely right. I should have mentioned. The criteria was unique, special, amazing, and active. Yes, and I did not mention this.
Thank you.
We'll, some other time we will have a presentation about ancient synagogues / museum-oriented synagogues. We have some really amazing one. Okay, where were we? I'm not sure. Lana,
I lost our spot.
Exactly.
Because people were writing to me while I was looking.
Okay. There are quite a few questions, but I'm not sure.
There is a question about the
and not if you could, if you could just let us look through the chat, that would be great. It's just easier if it's only two of us. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I did find it. Okay. Is there a significance to the 8-pointed star in the Carriage Synagogue? No, it's just a decoration. There is nothing special about it. The criteria. Okay, Anat, we just discussed it. You're so right. I did not mention. There is a Carriage community in the SF San Francisco Bay Area. Yes, there are Carriage communities still present all over the world. Some of them I've mentioned. There was United States as well, so I'm glad you know them. Rose, how do Karaim deal with animal sacrifices in the Bible versus prayer, which is essentially a rabbinical idea? Well, they deal with it quite well because their community was born, their community was created some 800 years after the destruction of the Second Temple. So they actually were born in a reality when there is no temple, there are no sacrifices, there are prayers. So they do have prayers. They are different prayers. They have different way to pray. You saw these, body movements, which are very similar to the Muslim ones. So yeah, they don't make any sacrifices, and it's okay for them. Where are the women of the Carriage? Do they pray in the same fashion? Yes, they do pray in the same fashion. They are sort of separated. I mean, they don't have a Ezrat Nashim per se, but they don't pray like mixed together. There is some sort of, ladies to the right, gentlemen to the left, or vice versa. The Nazis, they did persecute the Carriage community, And this is exactly the reason why there are almost no Caraves left in, East Europe, former Soviet Union. Yeah, I mean, the Nazis did not care where the Caraves prayed this way, other way, with or without shoes. As far as the Nazis were concerned, the Caraves were Jews.
It's a fact from Harry. He gave us a numeric fact.
Yeah. I see. Great. 85% Indians in Israel, like
85,000.
Indian Jews. Approximately 70,000 Israelis live in India. Well, I'm not surprised. In Israel, I was talking only about the Cochin community, which is the most ancient one with the most special story. We have other Indian Jewish communities as well, which have a different story. But when you look at them, yes, they're all Indians. But each community have their own, special things. Do they celebrate Hanukkah? Okay, this is a good question. It is not in the Bible. How come they have a Chanukiah? Sharona Liman. Okay, hey Sharona, as your official po. Okay, the answer is that's exactly the question I've asked them when I was first visiting the synagogue, and the answer was, well, look, it's not in the Bible. Of course, we don't really care about it, but what can you do about it? We live among the Orthodox Jews. We're such a small minority today, and everybody celebrates Hanukkah, and it's so pretty, and kids want to play the dreidel, and they want to lit the candles, and they want to eat the donuts. So, okay, why not? It's like, we celebrate not Christmas, but the Sylvester, we do celebrate Christian holiday because it is pretty. So yeah, we the Carriage, we celebrate Hanukkah, even though it's not biblical, even though it's not holy. We don't care about it, but yes, we celebrate. Okay, that was the answer I got. Same is true, by the way, for Ethiopians, because the Ethiopian Jews, originally, they did not celebrate Hanukkah, and they did not even know about Hanukkah, because Hanukkah is something which has to do with the Second Temple period, while the Ethiopian community left the land of Israel after the destruction of the First Temple. So they had no idea whatsoever about Hanukkah. They never heard of it. But then they made Aliyah. They saw Hanukkah. That's a pretty, this is a wonderful holiday. So they do celebrate Hanukkah today. Okay. Things change. Okay. Actually, I visited the Carriage Synagogue, and I was given a tour by the rabbi, and I was allowed in the sanctuary, and okay. He was extremely gracious. That's true. Look, it depends on the attitude. For instance, there is a large Carriage community, a large Carriage center in Ramle, and they do let women in their synagogue in Ramle. Yes, they do not let women in the synagogue in Jerusalem. It's sort of a local decision as well. What is about the Kohanim in the places of graves? Well, this is a question I've asked myself, and the answer was that the Kohanim do not stand next to the graves, so the Kohanim don't pray at these graves of the Gur rabbis. What is the Mahanayakuda neighborhood under Jordanian control? No, because the Nachlaot neighborhood and the Mahanayakuda neighborhood and the Mahanayakuda market, they're all located west from the old city. And so this entire area was part of Western Jerusalem, of Israeli Jerusalem. Okay, so that was never under the Jordanian control. The problem was with Mount of Olives. All right. There is a minaret next to the Cochin Synagogue. Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, this is sort of a sad story. This is true. There is a minaret which belongs to a mosque, which is not functioning. But yes, there is a mosque right next to, like almost attached to the Churva synagogue. How come? Long ago, there was a Jewish family who owned this plot of land next to the Churva synagogue, and then they had some sort of a misunderstanding. They basically hated their Jewish neighbors, and so they decided that when the owner will pass away, they will leave their plot of land to the Muslims to build a mosque, so to make their neighbors upset. So that's exactly what happened. And so the neighbors were upset, and the minaret is still there. Yeah, that's true. Okay, why did they take so long following 1967 to rebuild the synagogue, to rebuild the Churva? Well, in the beginning, actually 1967, shortly after that, it was decided to rebuild the synagogue. They built this one arch as sort of a memorial, just in the meanwhile, until we find the architect, the money, whatever. So they did plan to rebuild the synagogue, and they actually already had the architect. They already planned the restoration, and then the architect suddenly died. And after the death of the architect, somehow the project was abandoned, and actually they did not have the funds until some 10 years ago or so, when two Russian billionaires, Russian Jewish billionaires, donated the money. So yeah, it's all about money.
Julia,
so,
I should have asked you this earlier, but could you please talk about next week's program before we keep going?
Yeah, because we're
losing people quickly.
We're losing people, and I can understand why. Okay, guys, so next week's program, it is a presentation by a friend and a colleague of mine, David Stenberg, who is an art teacher, and he is a tour guide, and he has a great presentation about women who built Jerusalem. Now, we are talking about different women. We're talking about different periods. We are looking at some 2,000 years of history, and none of these women was Jewish. And yet they built wonderful structures, holy, non-holy. You will hear for yourself. But the bottom line is that we're talking about women only, without whom Jerusalem would not be what it is. I mean, we cannot imagine Jerusalem without the structures they built. Okay? Great women, non-Jewish, and they made Jerusalem what it is. Okay?
Thanks, Julia.
So, great. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me.
Of course.
Okay. Was not the dome of the Churva dedicated by Kaiser Wilhelm? Well, not quite so. I mean, there is sort of a story connected to it, but it was well looked into, and there are articles, and no, it does not have to do with Kaiser Wilhelm, and it does not have to do with Moshe Montefiore. There is a different story to it. Kaiser Wilhelm, though, Wilhelm II is a very, very important person in the history of Jerusalem, because of him, we have this great big opening of the Jaffa Gate. I mean, when you drive your car or your bus into the Jaffa Gate, that's because of Wilhelm II. And he made it to Jerusalem because of a celebration, no matter what. But Theodor Herzl made it to Jerusalem in order to meet Wilhelm II. So without Wilhelm, there would be no Theodor Herzl in Jerusalem. Okay, but it does not have to do with the synagogue. Okay, what else? I missed a bit. Please also access the recording. Yes, there is a recording.
I posted it for everyone. Don't worry about that, Julia.
Okay, you know that.
For anyone who wants to see it later, just go to YouTube and type in Volunteers for Israel, and you'll see all of the programs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so again, there's a question, when will I do a presentation about Beit Alpha and Tzipori? So regarding Tzipori, there was a whole virtual tour of Tzipori, which also included the synagogue. So it is recorded, and you're welcome to look at it in our tiny URL. And regarding Beit Alpha, yes, again, definitely we will be visiting Beit Alpha and some other wonderful, special, ancient, ruined archaeological synagogues. Okay, I'm not sure when, probably November, because October is fully booked already. But we still have an opportunity in November, and I see that we have so many people in this presentation. So why when we have another one?
I think that's the last question. It's mostly people telling you how wonderful the presentation was. They enjoyed it.
Thank you. Okay, well, in such a case,
I think that's it.
Welcome to unmute.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself now and ask Julia.
Gail wrote wrote the link for the Akko Synagogue.
So great, the one which I misplaced. Okay.
It's an absolutely magnificent. It's just so beautiful.
Thanks, Gail.
So you should look at that link.
Does anyone have any questions they wanted to ask before we let Julia go to sleep?
I have a question.
I talked to my son, actually.
In Israel, do the Indian Jews suffer from racism?
Oh, this is a good question. You know, I wish I could say no. I wish I could say no, but wait, I lost you. Just a sec. Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, legally, no. Practically, I don't know what to say. I mean, somehow white people, they always feel that black people are inferior. It just works like that. So yeah, I mean, some white Jews look at the black Jews like Indians, like Ethiopians, and they feel that we white people, we are better. Yes, I mean, unfortunately, this is true. On the other hand, I know that some black Jews look at the white Jews and they don't really want to mix with them because we, the black Jews, we are better. You know, things that are getting better little by little. You know, I'm Russian, my husband is half Polish and half Romanian. And so we have a purebred Ashkenazi children. And Noam, my son, his best friend is a half Yemenite and half Persian, and nobody could care less, okay? But yes, I mean, sometimes a black-skinned Jew, no matter whether we're talking about Ethiopian, Yemenite, Indian, for the matter, they might feel, I don't know. Yeah,
I do have Indian Israeli friends. I do have quite a few because my best friend who's Israeli is married to an Indian Jew, and I've asked them this, and none of them have said yes. They said they kind of feel like they fit right in. I mean, they don't have darker skin, I would think.
Well, that makes the whole difference.
I didn't know. I didn't even realize they were Indian until they told me.
Julia.
Well, that's because they are pale. Yeah. Hey, Alvin.
Julia. Hi, it's Alvin. The Jews that come from Assam, the northeast portion of India, that have moved to Israel, have they moved and congregated in one specific location in Israel?
No, you were talking about the Bnei Menashe, the sons of Menashe. Yeah. Well, you know, first of all, we're talking about a very small minority. So they try to stick together as any other small minority. There are quite a few of them living in Carmiel. There are some living in Haifa, in this northern area. I'm not sure where else, but these are small communities. We are talking about, I don't know if you all know that story. Some 20 years ago, so there was a Jewish community rediscovered in the northeast part of India, close to the border of Nepal. We are talking about Jews who are as dark as the Indians. They have almost Chinese-shaped eyes, and they believe themselves to be the descendants of the tribe of Menashe, from the lost 10 tribes. So yeah, this is another special, different community, and most of them are up north. And that's even more difficult to be a member of their community, because you're not just dark, but you're also Chinese looking. So what kind of Jew you are, you know?
And also, Alvin, when they came as a group, you know, it would be very hard for them to split up and go different places, because they didn't even know anything about Israel. They only knew the ancient, you know, ancient Jerusalem and ancient Israel. So
are more still coming from Assam?
Not recently, no. I mean, this community is basically, you know, those who wanted to leave, those who wanted to immigrate, they came, they made Aliyah, and those who left behind, they were assimilated. They did not really, you know, feel part of the Jewish community. So we may say that there are no Bnei Menashe left in Assam. That's as far as I know.
All right. Any other questions for Julia?
Or Alvin, Harry?
I'm not sure. I think, did you present previously on the foreign fighters that fought for Israel in 1948? Did you?
I don't think so.
Is that something worth having somebody presenting on? It's a lot
Definitely.
I'm not talking about Mickey Marcus. I mean, it's the most famous one, but it's a whole bunch of others,
right?
Including the ones that really were the original Israeli Air Force fighters.
Well, there's a whole movie on that. If someone, you just watch Above and Beyond, and you see the whole entire story, and you don't need a presentation unless Julia wants someone to speak on it. But if anyone is interested in the start of the Air Force and to see the people from abroad who fought in the Air Force, please watch the documentary called Above and Beyond.
My son-in-law's great uncle is Danny Shapira, which should ring a couple of bells.
And there's a really good book called I Am My Brother's Keeper.
Yeah.
That talks about them. Very good book.
All right. Well, thank you, Julia. It was awesome as usual. You held almost 200 sign-ins. It was pretty good. And I would say very good. And looking forward to next week.
Yeah.
I'm excited. When I was looking for pictures to promote it, and I was looking up the women, I almost wrote to you because I said, I don't know which architects this is, and I'm looking up Israeli architects, and then
no, they're not.
I Googled him, and I saw these presentations, and then these are paintings of women so long ago, and I was like, I can just Google architects.
No. We are talking about great women rulers.
I know, and so I found an image, but here I am Googling Israeli architects female.
No. That has nothing to do with modern Israeli architecture. We're talking about now. Yeah, but this is a really, really interesting presentation. I'm sure you will enjoy it because, you know, you walk down the street and, hey, we talked about the Churba and quite a few know, let's say, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You know, there's no Jerusalem, no. And did you know that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre looks like what it looks because of the woman? Okay, it's all about women. So yeah, she built a church not for us, but doesn't matter. It's a great site. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me, and Ilana, thank you, and I hope Steve is good.
Steve's fine, just a doctor's appointment.
Okay, well, that happens.
And
no COVID.
What?
No COVID?
Oh, no, nothing like that. And then I was thinking next time, just to make it easier, why don't I go down and read the questions so you can just listen and you don't have to search for things.
Well, we can do it together.
Okay, all right. Just because I'm answering questions as I'm asking questions.
Well, you're all busy. I can see you. Yeah.
All right.
Keyboard.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Julia.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Laila Tov.
Laila Tov.
Bye.
Shalom.
If you'd like to stay around for a schmooze, you're welcome to.
Hi, Julia.
Thank you, Julia.
Sign off. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Jerry.
Hey, Charlie.
Laila Tov.
Thank you, Julia.
Lila Tov.